Good afternoon. My name is Brian Lyons, Brianlyons. I'm a major with the Colorado State Patrol. I'm in charge of southeastern Colorado. We appreciate you taking time every day to join us. I'm going to provide some initial information about what has occurred this morning here in Pueblo County. At approximately 10:02 a.m. this morning, we received multiple calls of a multiple vehicle crash just south of the city limits of Pueblo, about 1.5 miles south on I-25. The initial reports involved that there was over 30 vehicles that had crashed due to adverse weather conditions with high winds and blowing dirt across I-25. The crash scene is approximately 1.5 miles south of exit 94, which is Pueblo Boulevard, and again involved over 30 vehicles. As a result of that crash, northbound I-25 is closed and will remain closed for several hours while we continue with the investigation into exactly what transpired, and so we can actually put things together and get a true count of how many vehicles are involved. The vehicles that we do know that are involved are several commercial motor vehicles, pickups pulling horse trailers, SUVs, and passenger vehicles, but we'll get an accurate count once we have a time to go back through and get those, but it's over 30 vehicles that were involved. Unfortunately, as a result of this crash, we've had 4 fatalities. 4 people lost their lives this morning on I-25. We're working with the Pueblo County Coroner's Office to identify those parties, and they will handle the identification and the notification of next of kin for those unfortunate souls that lost their lives this morning as a result of this crash. Once that's done, the Pueblo County Coroner's Office will be the one that will release their information, but it's going to take a little bit of time for them to get them identified and then also to notify the next of kin. So information will be forthcoming from the Pueblo County Coroner's Office as it relates to the 4 parties that lost their lives tragically this morning as a result of this crash. In addition to that, we had an additional 29 individuals that were transported from the scene to area hospitals, whether it was Parkview, St. Mary Corwin, or Parkview West. Their injuries were minor to moderate, and a few serious, but we do not know the condition of all of those parties. We have other agencies assisting us with the investigation to get that information of those parties that were transported to the area hospitals for injuries that they sustained in the crash. Also, there was 10 additional parties that did not sustain injuries that remained on scene, and with the assistance from Pueblo School District 60, they provided us several of their school buses to help transport those individuals from the scene to a local hospital so they could get out of the elements and just work on making sure they can make some notification to their family. We will get their information collected as well from our partner agencies that are assisting with the investigation. Like I said, this is early on in our investigation that we're going through this. The Colorado State Patrol Crash Reconstruction Team Vehicular Crimes Unit will be the lead investigators for this crash, and we'll compile all the information. But we have a very strong collaborative partnership within Pueblo County with all of the agencies that came out today, with the Pueblo Police Department, Pueblo County Sheriff's Office, Pueblo Fire, Pueblo West Fire, Rural Fire, Beulah Fire, American Medical Response, Flight for Life, and School District 60, Pueblo County EOC, the Mayor's Office, County Commissioners. So we truly appreciate their collaboration and their assistance in this matter as we go through, because it's going to take all of us to get through this investigation, to find out exactly what happened, piece everything together, and so we can answer as many questions as we can. Like I said, we're at early stages of the investigation, but we wanted to make sure that we had some initial information to push out to all of you about what transpired this morning.
Mike, first question, you said that several were in serious condition. I was just curious if any of those, to your knowledge, were life-threatening.
We're still trying to ascertain exactly what their injuries are, and with the officers that we have, they're going to check into that, and that will be something that we work on throughout the rest of the afternoon into this evening to find out exactly what injuries they sustained and then how significant and serious they are.
Can you tell me the state of I-25 before the crash and why no closure was called ahead of time?
So right before we had the advisories that the wind was going to pick up this morning. There was no closures, and this was one of those storms that came through and the wind picked up very quickly, and that location down there, unfortunately, due to the lack of moisture and stuff that we've had in the area recently, the dirt and everything just transversed all the way across I-25 and created just what I'll call as a dirt or a brownout that visibility was next to nothing. So by the time we got those notifications, the crash had already occurred. So we were working to make sure we could get units down there to stabilize the situation and then work on an alternate route and then continue to monitor the weather as we go through the day, and it just picked up recently this afternoon. So we're working through that and making sure that we can get people safely around the closure using exit 91 all the way along the west frontage road up to exit 94 in both directions. And then there was a secondary crash on the southbound side that we're working to clear that up as well. That was also caused because of the wind and the significant dirt that was blowing across the highway. So once we get that open, cleared up, then we can open up the southbound side and at least have that part of I-25 open, but the northbound side will stay closed for quite a while.
Sir, Megan. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Megan Glover, News 5. I was just wondering is it too early to tell what the initial collision or situation was that led to this just terrible domino effect?
Correct, yeah, and we're looking through all of those pieces right now and looking at the vehicles, and we're going to try to match up the damage that occurred and their location as to where everything ended up, and then try to figure out what was the initial crash and then what precipitated through there. So that's something that our folks with the Vehicular Crimes Unit and with the help from the Pueblo Police Department, their crash unit as well, we're going to look at all the information that we obtained this morning as part of the initial investigation, look at that and then start to piece everything together to see exactly what was the initial crash and led up to everything else. So that'll be something that we're going to work on in the days to come, just so we can answer those questions and kind of figure that out, especially with that many vehicles involved.
With a large crash like this, how difficult is it to get to all of the victims involved in this kind of crash, and how did you guys work through that today?
So that's one of the great things that working together and collaboratively with the partners that we have here in Pueblo County, this is something that we practice all the time, and we have events each year to look at that collaborative approach and to really look at mass casualty or a large-scale incident, so we know what to do, how to do it, when to do it. So with that, once the call came out, all of the units from every agency responded to the scene, and then we just start to do what they call a triage, and we start making our way from the head of the crash all the way to the back. And then as we come across individuals, we check on their injuries, we see what they are, and then we start to see where we need to put them, and those most significantly that are injured, then they get the first priority to get them out of there and to get them to a hospital that they need to. And then we make sure to go and check on every vehicle, every location, to make sure we can account for all occupants, all drivers, all motorists that are in each of the vehicles, and so we know that we have everybody accounted for, and to make sure that they get the treatment and the care that they need. So it's a very methodical process, but we start at the front and we work all the way to the back, and then we turn around and we come all the way back to the front, just to make sure that we can account for them and look to see where they are, and those that are significantly injured, then we prioritize them to make sure we can get them out of there. Then we start to look at everything else and just triage them based on the injury and the needs that they have. And that's that collaborative approach that we have with all of our agencies, and that incident command structure that we use is very significant, and it's worked well for us, and it's something that, like I said, we practice and we go through each year, just because something like this will happen, and we want to make sure we're prepared.
For the people who were killed, were they all in one vehicle or separate vehicles?
No, so that's one of those things. They were all in separate vehicles, so that's going to be one of those as we work at the Pueblo County Coroner's Office to identify each one of those individuals, and so they can make notifications to their loved ones, and so that gives a little bit of time. And like I said, when that does happen, then the Pueblo County Coroner's Office will release their information as it becomes available.
Andrew, I got a question for you. Did the high winds impact any of your efforts to transport people from the crash site to hospitals? And then also, were there any fires that were sparked as a result?
So there was no fires at all. All of our fire agencies that responded to it, they were ready for that, and there was no fires in the area. And then we used all of the ground transportation that we had from American Medical Response. They're the ones that were going to transport those. They even had Flight for Life chopper was up in the air, just surveilling handling the scene if we needed that. We were going to work on getting them on the ground to make sure that we could transport that, but everyone that needed a transport was able to get in an ambulance and make it back up to the area hospitals without any delay.
So I saw an increased presence of authorities on the road today on the way here. Does that have anything to do with this crash, or just kind of keeping an eye on people and their speed and making sure that no more crashes of this severity happen today?
Yeah, it's just one of those that that we were bringing in additional resources just to make sure that we had adequate personnel on the scene, not only from our agencies but from the Pueblo Police Department, Pueblo County Sheriff's Office, and so that that they could dedicate what they were doing to that scene to make sure that we can cover everything possible and document all that we need to. So we were pulling resources from other areas to just make sure that we had a presence on the roadways, because motorists were going to have questions about how do they get around or what do they need to do, and so that's the great part of that is we're going to bring in all those resources just to make sure that we can push that information out, not only through the message boards but also through our public information office, not only with the Colorado State Patrol but with the joint effort that we have here with the City of Pueblo and with the Sheriff's Office in the county. So all of their PIOs, they're working together to make sure that message goes out, that we can let motorists know and citizens know what's going on, and if they needed to go somewhere, how to get around. And then the other efforts was just to make sure that we have a presence on the roadway, because other motorists also need to have information, and we can provide that.
What's your advice for drivers driving in this high wind on corridors such as that with no wind blockage?
So, it's one of those that just like when it comes to adverse weather conditions in the mountains, when it's snowing, it's drive for the conditions, just be mindful of where it is. And so it was something that, they started putting out information that the winds were going to increase today into tomorrow, and to look at those. And so it's, we try to do our very best to get that information out, and not only from our standpoint, but from the great partnership that we have with you all, is you guys help us out a ton, and putting that information out, and with your meteorologists and your weather staff, they put that out there. So we just make sure that people are paying attention and listen to those as they start to travel, whether it's going to be the wind conditions that are here and the dirt that could come across the road, not only on I-25 but other places, especially in southeastern Colorado, or it's going to be the snow and the adverse weather conditions up in the mountains. So always pay attention and look to what's going on, and drive for the conditions that are there, and especially with that, and look to what's going on. But like I said, when it comes at this fast pace, and something happens this immediate, then just kind of look at those, and unfortunately we ended up with what we had this morning. So
go ahead, Des.
Is there any like parking lot or area where the trucks can lay over until it's cleaned up?
So thankfully with that frontage road, we're still able to get them back and forth, but if they choose to wait it out, we have several large gas stations, not only on the north side of Pueblo but on the south side of Pueblo, that have large parking lots and other larger areas that if we need to, then we can move them in there and park them, just because we want to make sure, especially when it comes to the high profile vehicles, and if that wind starts to pick up again, we don't want to put them on the highway, that they can't make it to where they're going. So we have those efforts and areas that Colorado Department of Transportation will push that information out. Same thing, and then we'll get it to you all. We'll put it on the signboards, and then that way, with the commercial motor vehicles, they heed to those, and they'll find a place just to kind of tuck in and wait it out, especially with the winds, as they're trying to get from one point to the other.
Now, you all prepare for mass casualty events like this every year. We've seen the exercises for the most part, but to actually go through one of these mass casualty events, just what runs through your mind, just trying to get everything just ready, prepared, and also getting ready for the chaos?
Yeah, so the first and foremost, the biggest thing is once that call comes in, the main priority is life safety. We want to make sure that we get adequate personnel there to start looking and handling those individuals that need our help, that need us the most. So that life safety and medical treatment and care are going to be the top priority. The other part of that is also to make sure that we can secure where everything is and alleviate additional vehicles coming in there. So it's going to be a multi-pronged approach as we come into that. But the biggest thing is we want to get there, take care of the people that are injured, and then also alleviate any additional vehicles coming into that. And so we'll have the initial responders that come and handle that, and then we're also going to divert people that they know that their sole purpose, task, and mission is to alleviate that and set up a detour to get people around and to slow them down. So it's something that we start assigning tasks right off the bat to know where it is and to make sure that we have it.
What was it like for you responding to this event?
And it's these are always unfortunate. And any time that somebody is injured or any time that there is a life lost, it's something that it impacts all of our community. It impacts everybody that's going to respond to those, and so we just have to make sure that we do our due diligence, and we like we do day in and day out, we're going to put 100% of our effort into knowing what's going on to make sure that we can answer as many questions as we can. And there may be some that we're not able to answer, but we're going to do everything possible to make sure once we're done with the investigation that we can put all that together, because those that are injured and those that have lost loved ones, they have questions, and it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we can answer those questions. And so for all of us that respond to those, it's a collaborative effort to make sure that we're all talking and working together to make sure, and we all have specific task and mission to know where it is once we get there, that we're going to kind of piece those out. And our partners with the fire department and with their expertise, we're going to let them do what they need to do, and we're going to handle all the stuff when it comes to the traffic crash and our emergency medical response units. They're going to handle the injured once we have those and we get them identified. And so it's just one of those that everybody has a piece, everybody plays a part, and so that's the great part about the partnerships that we have here, is because we do this and we train for it. So when incidents like this happen, everybody knows what to do, and there's no hesitation.
You guys said that it would be a little while to get the freeway open in both directions. I was wondering what kind of timeline we were talking about.
So like I said, the southbound side will be the one that gets opened up first, and just because we just have to clear up one semi and the emergency vehicles off of that stretch, then that's going to be the first one that opens up, hopefully here within an hour or so, but it just depends on getting a lot of that cleaned up. And then we're going to start focusing on that crash that's on the northbound side, and that's going to take time. We're going to elicit the tow carriers that we have in the area that have heavy wreckers or large wreckers to come in and get the commercial motor vehicles, to get those in there, and just we're going to start at the front and work our way to the back. And as we get those, and then as we tow those out, it's going to take several hours. And so we're, like I said, we're starting on that just a little bit ago, and I can't give you a definite time when that's going to when it's going to be open, but our partnerships with our tow carriers, they do great work as well, and it's a very methodical process that they're going to start, and they're just going to start taking one at a time, and then we'll get them off the road and worry about paperwork and everything else. But then the second part of that is then we got to also make sure that we can match a vehicle up to those that were transported to the hospital or to an area high school, to make sure we can tell them where their car's at, where their belongings are, and match everything up. And so then before we clear everything and open everything back up, we're going to make sure we have everyone accounted for that we know that was in a vehicle or involved in this incident.
The school district providing buses, is that something that they're typically prepared to do, or did they just respond that way due to the severity of this incident?
Again, it goes back to that effort that we have, and it's something that we train every year for, not on whether it's School District 60 or District 70. City of Pueblo or Pueblo County, is they're an active participant and partner when we have these large-scale events, because we look to see who has the resources that we need and who else they're going to have those buses, and we can bring those in just to make sure, and so that without a doubt it's just a quick phone call, and they're right there to help us out.
Do you have a count on how many people from the various agencies responded to this accident by chance?
That I don't. It's something that we're going to go back through and look about how many personnel that were there, and then what the other part that we do after these incidents is then we'll go back and we'll sit down and we'll say, what did we do well? What can we improve on, and what were those things, and make sure that we can account for not only the personnel but who was involved, and so that way we can get a good count from all agencies to know exactly who was there and how it comes about.
When's the last time there was a crash this severe that State Patrol responded to in Pueblo County?
Probably, it's kind of, with that many vehicles, it was several years ago we had one in the similar location. And I can't, it was about 10 years ago that one happened there. The other one that, that had significant impact, unfortunately, that there was a life lost, is when we had the train derailment north of town. So it's just one of those, but that involved rail cars and a semi versus multiple vehicles south of town. So, like I said, it's been a few years, but it's still one of those things that we're always aware and pay attention to.
Were there any animals hurt or killed in this?
So with that, one of the vehicles that were involved was a trailer that had animals in it. So we're working with partners with animal control and to make sure and to have an accurate count of what those are and to go through and to see what that does feed into it. But like I said, there was one vehicle that had a horse trailer that had goats or sheep in it. So we're just working to get a head count on that and then working with the owner of the livestock to make sure and also with animal control and state vet's office, to make sure we've got those accounted for as well.
Do you have a range of ages for the people who were injured?
That I don't. We're just trying to get all of that, and that'll come later on. That as we get that, we'll put out some additional information, just in the age range, not specifics. But since there were so many people transported to all those hospitals, and with our partners, with the Victims Advocates Group, ACOVA, Pueblo Police Department, Pueblo County Sheriff's Office, Colorado State Patrol, we'll have all of their information and to know, and then just kind of what the age range would be for everybody involved.
Do we know if the fatalities were drivers, passengers, a mix of both yet?
So that's some of that, just due to the severity of the crash, that's what we're going to put together and from the vehicles that they were involved in, and then we can account for whether driver, passenger, and stuff. So that'll be information that we'll put out, and we'll work with the Pueblo County Coroner's Office as well, just to identify where they're at. Okay.
Is there anything else you can't add?
The biggest thing is just, again, I appreciate everybody's patience and understanding as we go through this, and I know it's going to take a little bit of time to open up the interstate, but we just appreciate their patience and understanding that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we can get that opened up as soon as possible, and just to keep eyes on the releases that are coming out. Look at the signboards, look co-trip. Anything of those, it'll kind of tell and put that information out. But as we get additional information, then our agency will be the main point of contact for any press releases that come out, and then we will push that information out to you as well. This will be the one briefing that we do have. If there's something significant that does come out, that there's a need to do another one, we will put that information out with a location and a time. But I just wanted to make sure that I had a time to come and meet with all of you and provide as much information as we had now, so you know where we're at since it started this morning around 10 o'clock, and that way you can get that information out to the citizens that we serve, and they understand what's going on and why there's a closure south of town.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.